I look at it from this lens. If it's your first time going to the Philippines, you likely want to experience something tropical, something tropical where you got palm trees and beautiful beaches, the kind that you see in the screensavers. So to me, it makes no sense to go to the Philippines for the first time and hang out in Manila. There's nothing really tropical about Manila other than the humidity. So my usual recommendation as a good introduction to the Philippines is, number one, fly to Cebu, maybe stay one night there on Mactan so that you can just kind of decompress and relax, maybe even 2 nights. Because then what you're going to want to do is right there from Mactan, you can go over the bridge, go to Pier 1, and catch the ferry over to Bohol. And I highly recommend Tagbilaran and Panglao as your first experience in the Philippines. Getting from Cebu Pier 1 to Tagbilaran, which is where the pier is in Bohol, is easy peasy. It's like $15 maybe. It's a 90-minute boat ride. They usually put on a movie. So by the time the movie's over, you're pulling into Tagbilaran. And then to get from Tagbilaran to Panglao is maybe 10 minutes on a tricycle. It's a very local, small area, and you're going to see what you want to see. You're going to see banana trees, coconut trees, beautiful beaches. The Tagbilaran city is, small. It's not huge, but they do have 3 malls, a nice mall, and then the 2 smaller, older malls. They've got tons of things to visit. They got an underground lake thing. They got Chocolate Hills, they got Tarsiers, they got the bee farm, they got Alona Beach on Bohol, they got Panglao, Alona Beach, Dumaluan Beach. There's just so much to do. It'll keep you busy during your vacation. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's relaxing. I love it. Your second part of your question is 3 weeks, too short a time to meet a woman for a long-term relationship. In that time, you could meet, depending on where you're looking, you could meet a good woman and strike up the beginning of a relationship. But you really have to keep yourself in check, because anybody can be on their good behavior when they bump into some foreigner that's visiting for 2 weeks. They could be a complete nutcake. They could be a meth head. They could be married. You really don't know anything about these women when you meet them. It takes time. So the danger here is that you might meet somebody who is bubbly and cute and maybe a bit promiscuous, and you're having a great time and you're on vacation, everything's, eerie. And next thing you know, you're going back home, and of course you're keeping in contact with this person. And it turns into a long distance relationship without a foundation. Like say V and I, we lived together for 14 months before we went into an LDR, long distance relationship. So we had a foundation. I knew who she was. I had 14 months joined at the hip, living with her to get to know who I'm dealing with. But when you've only met somebody on a 3-week vacation on sort of a honeymoon, circumstances, you really got to be careful. Because what can very easily happen is you get back home and you're talking to her, and maybe she's a good woman. Maybe she's a good woman, and you'll return to the Philippines and you'll continue with the relationship, and maybe, who knows, you'll get married and have a wonderful life together. But what is more likely is 2 things may very well happen. Because you don't know each other. There is no real commitment. And in this long distance relationship, 2 things are very likely to happen. And I've had so many guys tell me the same story. They went to the Philippines on a short vacation, met a wonderful Filipina, went home, started chatting with her, and then not long after, he's sending her money. Now, sometimes it's because she flat out asked for it. Other times, as he gets to know her situation, he's like, oh, I feel bad, and I'm going to help her out a little bit. I'll send her $50. And then it becomes $100, and then it becomes $100 a week. And pretty soon the guy's like scrambling to pay his own bills because he's sending money to some Filipina he really doesn't know that well. The second thing that happens, and this happened to a viewer of mine about 4 months ago, is he's spending 2 years or so in this long distance relationship. And meanwhile, whether she planned it or not, she's getting restless. And the guy went back after sending money every month to this Filipina, and he gets back and he's thinking, oh, well, this is going to be awesome. We're going to pick up where we left off. And she's pregnant from some local Filipino guy. She got restless. She's got needs. She's not going to turn down the money you're sending her. And meanwhile, and again, I'm thinking now of another expat I know who, same thing, came back. The girl he'd been chatting with, talking with, building up hopes and dreams and plans with, she just said, nah, not interested. I already met someone else. So can you meet somebody, a woman, during that 2-3 weeks? Absolutely. You'll probably meet 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. But it's really too short a time to know them. So if you're going to stay in contact with them, don't be sending them money. You will weed out the gold diggers by not sending them money. And it's going to be really hard because being so far away, you can't know if she's telling you the truth or not about her problems. She might be telling the truth. She might not. And that's the bad position you put yourself in. You feel guilty if you don't help her, and you feel like an idiot if you do. So just be warned. Just go, have a good time. Don't make any commitments. Don't feel committed to anybody you meet there. Just go and have a good time. And when you're ready to move to the Philippines, then you can take your time and get to know a Filipina in person, date her in person, and really get to know who you're dealing with.